personnel and systems and how it goes through its process. And that's the benefit of business process automation. Typically, you would find there are four types of automation processes. One is what I call your basic automation, the ability to capture some information, maybe store it, and then pull it up later at a later time so I can do some research on it or analytics on it. I may take it even further by saying what's called process automation. Not only am I capturing documents, but I need the ability to perhaps move those documents through a set of logical steps and ways so that it can get to the right people, the right folks have the right authority to approve it or edit it or take some action on it. And then, of course, the next one is your integration approach, where you might need to enter some information into multiple systems. And then the big buzzword that's being talked a lot about today, you would find is in the area of artificial intelligence as well, or automation. So we'll get into some of that and some of the processes related to that these four types of BPIs. So why do business process automation, and its number one goal? I know there's a number of bullet points here, but the main one I want to focus on is the third bullet, which is the reason is how do I minimize my cost of operations? How do I eliminate manual, mundane steps? What areas can I do of automation so that I would shrink my time of processing, thereby reducing my cost of operation? So those are all pretty important. Now, these other bullets that you see up here are very important too. For example, you need to have right controls in place. You don't want to take shortcuts in your process. You want to prove that your process has been handled by the right people with authority. And you want to improve on time management and efficiency of your staff and your personnel. Um, you want to use the latest technologies as in the world that we are living in today, where you have so much access to information, and you want to make sure you have interoperability between systems that are easy and can move quickly. I want to reduce the paperwork, maybe the paper trail, and where things are at any given time. So these are the main reasons why a lot of organizations are looking to automate and streamline their process. So when we talk about business automation, the first things are what are the elements of it? What am I looking for? And I would just direct your attention to this slide that talks about there are two types of content that you're dealing with mainly on a day-to-day basis. And it may be so regular for you, you may not even think of it in this structure or this way, but there is what's called unstructured content, which is made up of paper or faxes or emails that we are working with on a day-to-day basis. Anything that's coming in some sort of heavy text sort of process, that's what comes into your business, and that might trigger some work. For example, it could be an email from a supplier, it could be a claim form from an incident that took place. It could be in the financial world. It could be a mortgage application. In the life science world, it could be a research document that an author has created that needs reviewed. Anyways, it's these types of document that or unstructured content that may trigger work as the beginnings of a process. And the second type of information is what we call structured content. And this is data that is highly organized, that is, it's in editable or researchable format. It's your data fields you may enter into an HR system or a supply chain system or accounting system or a mortgage system. So these are data contents that is important as well. So the combination of the two is what an individual might need in order to make a decision as part of the process. So if you look at what are the steps of a manual business process, as an example, I would suggest that these are the five things that an organization does in a process within in a particular department. For example, I may have an inbound capture that's coming, that's triggered from a piece of paper, a fax, or an email, as I mentioned first. And when I read through that document, I may say, okay, I know what actions I need to take on it. The actions may be as simple as you can review it and you can respond to it and you can file it. And it's only for your consumption. And those are some types of work. And then there are other types of work that may come in the form of I need to review it, but then it gets into the process side because not only do I need to review it, I need to send it to person A, person B, person C. They all need to be part of the process, and they need to either edit it or review it or approve it or something to that effect. And then ultimately, in between each of these steps, there may be the need to enter the information that I'm capturing into some third party system. So I may be data entering it into my Excel spreadsheet or my supply chain system or my mortgage lending system or my healthcare. It's a patient record. I need to enter it into a patient record system. It depends on it, but there could be manual entry that maybe you are doing, maybe person B is doing, and person C is doing, and they may enter it into the same system. They may enter into multiple systems. That's all part of the process. And then once that process is completed, then I am looking to perhaps do and create reports for my department. I might be creating reports out of all of this, what I have done, maybe historical reports for my management who's asking for them, maybe for my investors. All of it is possible. That the goal is then there is to report against the information and the work that you have completed. And then ultimately, I might use that information for research purpose, for publication, or for internal improvements, or simply because audits are coming and you want to provide a clean and controlled way. So when you talk about a manual business process, these five steps are inherent to it. And when we try to apply business process automation, what we try to do is to streamline every step of the way. For example, we have some customers, and I'm sure you've seen some of these as well. When an email comes in, for example, it's coming in electronic form, and if you're doing everything manual, you would find some organizations actually have to print out that email and then take action on it or distribute it. And in the future, what business automation gives you is the ability to automatically monitor a particular email inbox or two. And instead of printing them out and somebody manually walking through that process, there can be a robot or something that automatically monitors emails and takes some action on it. But not only do I need to do it through emails, I can bring it in via maybe scan electronic portals. I can bring it in from various electronic means, and I can capture it intelligently and bring it in. I can then apply the rules and automatically route it to the appropriate person who needs to review it, process it, and take action on it. No longer do I have to do an inter-office mail or get up from my seat and hand it over to somebody and put it in their inbox or any of that. The process automation steps are then moving electronically as opposed to physically moving this information. There's no longer the need to manually enter information into the system. So you would hear a lot about how do I pass information as soon as I capture it up front to maybe one system or multiple systems. thereby eliminating the need for manual entry or double entry, or maybe multiple people entering the same information into one system or multiple systems. And then at the same time, I need to automatically from my system show analytics and reports. I want to see dashboard views. I want to see real-time views. I want to see how my department is performing. I want to have intelligent information on my process that I have automated. Um, for example, if I'm automating an accounting process, I want to see where my total spend is, who I negotiated best terms with, am I gaining the best optimized payment optimization that across the board. All of that is available through an analytics reporting that gives me the capability to dice and slice information that I'm already collecting. And then the last thing is, how do I have access to the information that I have done right on my fingertips? How do I get the right information at the right time for the folks, both internally and externally, who needs to have information available? So those are the benefits of business process automation when you compare it against what I'm trying to do with regards to business automation. Let me just touch on intelligent capture for a second. And it's the goal ultimately of intelligent capture is to say, how does it facilitate the ability to capture work that's coming into my organization, whether it's in a distributed fashion or centrally? Do I have multiple sources, and can I bring it in through multiple sources with minimal or no human intervention? All right, that's one of my primary goals. And then once I bring those documents into the mix, whether it's an email or a fax or a scanned or a multifunctional device or a portal environment document that's coming in, how do I apply the same rules against it? So one of the first things it should do is the ability to identify what type of document. Is this a mortgage loan? Is this a claim? Is this a correspondence? Is this a financial transaction? Is it an invoice? Is it a patient record? What is it? Identify the type of document. And then instead of manually somebody typing the information in, based upon knowing what type of document it is, can I extract the right information from it automatically? In other words, I'm turning what I explained before, which was an unstructured content like a paper or a fax, into data that's more structured. So then I can do something with that information. And then forward that information downstream. Depending upon what information I've collected, I want to send it on to the right system so that it's automatically processed downstream. So that is the goal of intelligent capture, and we use cognitive rules and how do we process that. These are what's in the market today, and that is pretty powerful and gains a lot of knowledge from that perspective. So once I have captured this information, the goal is to how do I move it? The intelligent capture information gives me the data that allows me to now start applying logic, rules, and workflow conditions that allow me to move work depending on the type of document and who in the right authority has the ability to receive it. Am I dealing with duplicates? Am I dealing with fraudulent information? I need to catch those things up front. I need controls. I need validations. And it should be documented, stamped, and sealed so that I can have a complete view of it. And it's organized for my auditors when they come and look at it maybe 6 months later. But then once I distribute it, can I do it automatically? Can I move it on an ad hoc basis? Can I apply artificial intelligence to certain steps so that a human doesn't have to do it? The system will apply logic to it. Can I automatically post data into multiple systems using robotic automation? These are some of the examples that you would hear that's available in the market today. And when we talk about artificial intelligence, it's about machine learning and how does a brain work? What logic do I use to decipher information? How do I read it? How do I interpret it? And how do I move it? That's what the logic tells me. It may also remind you, oh, the last 5 times you did it this way. This is how you want to proceed with it. May give um, tips to the processors or the employees on how best to do it correctly. So this is becoming more and more prevalent in our world as part of the logic and business automation, and it's something to heavily consider as part of your work. Just some examples, and this is by no means an exhaustive list, but kind of gives you an idea. I mean, quite frankly, business automation is being used today across multiple industries. So whether that's in healthcare or in banking or life sciences or insurance or government, wherever there is um, inbound documents process attached to it, the need for research and analytics. I mean, you can take, and McKinsey in this example says almost half of all your business process requires this type of automation. And it's something that can go across different departments and, quite frankly, across different industries. So, whichever industry you belong to, maybe the departments you belong to, maybe great idea just to start looking and exploring the opportunities that are there in order to streamline, reduce your cost of operations, and bring controls into place. Just some examples of what you might be interested. We've got customers that start maybe in one area, and then this might be in your case as well. You might start automation in one area. If done correctly, you will find that there are other departments who will raise their hands and say, we want to try this out. We want to try a proof of concept. We want to apply this technology. It makes a lot of sense for us. We have many manual entries. We have data entry errors. We have no easy way of finding duplicates or not, and where is a particular document sitting and who's got it. I mean, look at these examples. So whether it's in proof of delivery or incident reports where there's an accident and how do I make some claims against that, whether it's mortgage processing or if it's accounts payable operations. I mean, it could go really across your organization, and I would encourage everyone on this call to think about which areas that might be candidates for great automation process. Just an example of how to get started. These are the main components as a summary, and where we are, and what are the important steps. What can you expect from it? I've seen automation will take place where I'm reducing cycle times quite a bit, and from maybe 30 days down to 3 days to process, reducing my costs by 70%, 80% for example, if you take a loan processing or a financial operations processing, that might cost you, for example, maybe upwards of 18 to $20, and you're bringing it down per transaction to about $3 or $2 per transaction. It's significant savings to the organization, making it much more efficient. I've seen where maybe a payables department that is responsible for making payments on time, missing discounts because they are not able to streamline their process. And when they apply this technology, they get in compliance. They can take all the discounts negotiated with their suppliers, bringing back into the organization millions of dollars they just could not recoup before. So it's significant from that perspective, and how business automation would help a group. I just want to point out how do you get started, and just really some suggestions as a summary slide and to wrap up this webinar. One is select a business partner who is experienced in this field. Make sure you do your research. Make sure you check their references, their area of automation. How long have they been in business process automation? That is critical for your success. Do they talk the same language that your industry is in? Do they have experience integrating with perhaps the back-end systems or third-party systems that you're currently using? And one of the key things as you go through a project with the partner, once you've selected them, is conduct an analysis of the target area. It's very overwhelming to look at an entire organization and say, where do I start? And it's a good idea to start at a particular location or a department or a process, and do an analysis of that. The goal of the analysis is to say, and I would strongly suggest that I've heard analysis being conducted two ways. One is an organization themselves could do the analysis, or in other cases where you would team up with a business partner to do the analysis. If you do it by yourselves, what you would find ending up happening is that you are experts in your process and you would capture your process as it is today, what we call your as is process. But then what you miss out is what the automation company gives you, and there may be automation steps that you might not have considered. So it's a good thing to collaborate appropriately with your business partner as part of your analysis to see which steps in your process that you can automate or eliminate through it. And then once you go through it, your goal is to implement that, configure it, make sure the testing and both the UAT and the SIT from a system integration and implementation, and then ultimately roll it out into production, moving it into a maintenance and support role from that perspective. I just want to let you know that these are, again, by no means at a high level view of your how to get started with a business implementation partner. With that said, Mariah has been, I just want to let you know, as a company, has been in the business for more than close to about 20 years or so in the area of business automation. We would love to hear from you if there is any help that we can assist and provide to you. My name, as Kelsey mentioned, is George Thomas again, and I thank you for your time for attending this webinar. Kelsey, back to you.